I've got the looks and the charm of an old movie star. Cary Grant, if you will, so I find it bizarre that this girl should refuse to step into my car. She must be shy, she'll come around, it's just a matter of time. Aurora, Aurora.
Hey there, Screen Beans, and welcome to Screen Snark, a show that celebrates all of the shows that are in our eyes, on our minds, and in our hearts. I am Rachel Quirky Shank.
And I am Matt, a.k.a. Stormageddon.
And I did the podcast show switch. I'm just going to call it a podcast show from now on.
Podcast show? Do it.
That way I'll never have to worry that I said show when I should say podcast.
Exactly. There you go. Yeah, it's funny that
podcast about shows.
It's funny watching.
That will show to you.
It's funny watching you at the start of the show try and remember the intro, because I have realized that for all of my shows, I don't do the intro except for Autographs, which is pre-recorded. Like, Jeff does the intro for Fun and Games. You do the intro for this. And MJ scripts our whole intro because she doesn't trust me, and I don't blame her.
Oh, no.
But yes,
it's hard. Hey, it's a hard job
being a podcaster.
To intro a show.
Yeah.
You listen, you're the one who opens the door and offers the listener a tasty beverage of their choice.
It's true.
A lot. It's a big responsibility. Not that you couldn't do it, Matt. I just want you to recognize my struggle.
I recognize your struggle all the time, Rachel.
But you know what? I don't want to talk about my struggles. This is a terrible segue. I'm really crushing this one. I'm so pumped for all of our listeners out there to meet and get to know this incredible streamer, director, just one of the sweetest souls that exists on the cesspool that is the internet. Please welcome Rich McGrath.
Oh, thank you. I need to put that review in my dating profile. Maybe I'll get more successful dates like that.
A delightful soul in this cesspool of the internet.
Nice. Well, welcome to the show, Richard.
Welcome, Rich.
Thank you both for having me. I'm so happy to be here. Thrilled.
I'm so excited to have you.
Yeah, it was funny. It's always funny when a listener follows us on Twitter and then does the follow the host thing on Twitter. Me and Rachel both work on the Screen Snark Twitter, but for the most part, it just auto posts our episodes. We don't interact enough on there. But that said, I'll get notifications when people follow. And so, of course, when you followed Screen Snark and then me, I went, aha, a man of culture.
And that's the kind of Venn diagram we like.
But I started checking out your stuff, and I love the kinds of things you're doing. And it's always exciting to me to meet streamers from every tier, especially on Twitch, because Twitch is such a versatile platform, and it makes me excited to engage with new people as much as old people, people who've been around longer. Because people with smaller audiences, I also feel like there's an energy that you don't always get with larger audiences. Sometimes you do, but I feel like there's more interaction on a more personal level with smaller audiences, and that's always fun to discover.
I knew you'd be so excited when I brought a streamer. I did it.
It's our third one. We're 3 for now for streamers. We've had the incredible Opera Geek, Urban Bohemian, and now Richard. Nice. Yeah. But this is not a podcast about streaming. This is a podcast.
Not yet.
Not yet, at
Not
least.
Not yet. Oh, God.
This is a podcast about the most recent thing we've watched. And I have to be honest with our audience for the first time in a while, because I lie all the time.
Yeah, you're just a fibber right here on Fibber Island.
I'm the worst. No, I actually break out in hives when I tell lies, so I can't. But I have not watched something recently. For those who don't know, who've been following me on Twitter very loosely, I have been dealing with a fire on the roof of my apartment building, and I've been displaced since. I am now in my new long-term home, which is really exciting. And so we're more settled now. But with all of that mishigas, as my people say, I've not had a lot of time to sit down and watch stuff, because when you're without internet for a week, and everything you own is streaming, you don't actually own anything that's not in a box, it's hard to watch anything. But that said, since I got my internet back, I have been watching sporadic episodes of a series that I've mentioned here, but I've never actually talked about. And since I finished that series a while back, and now I've revisited it, I will now talk about it and gush about it here. And that series, of course, is one of the best comedy television shows ever. filmed in our neighbors to the north, Canada, the incredible show Schitt's Creek, which I've never actually talked about at length on the show, and I'm very excited to bring here.
Oh yeah, the last time you brought it, you were just giving it a shout out because you liked it.
Right, and I hadn't finished it yet, but I have since wrapped up the whole show, and while I don't have something brand new to talk about, I was hoping to get to Bill and Ted 3 before today, but hopefully this weekend. That said, I am going to talk a little bit about Schitt's Creek, one of the best comedy television shows ever written ever, maybe only second to The Good Place, which we've also talked about here at length. For those who are not familiar with Schitt's Creek, it is about a rich family who lose everything. They get screwed over by their accountant and lose everything. But it turns out the father owned a tiny town called Schitt's Creek that he bought as a joke because of the terrible name. And so they move there to try and pull their lives together. It has an incredible 6-season run. It shows growth and development in human characters in a way I've never seen before in a TV show. It helped me to fall incredibly in love with Dan Levy, the son of Eugene Levy, comme ci, comme ça. But it's just a great, really funny show. And revisiting it even more recently, some of my favorite episodes, it's got such heart in a way that a lot of TV doesn't have. These unlikable characters, you are slowly brought in to like them over time. And by the final season, they're not completely redeemed because they're still who they are, but they have had such huge character growth in a human way, not in a way like that a lot of superhero shows do now, where it's the growth is them learning we were the heroes all along. That stuff is great, but seeing human growth in a non-fiction, a non-superhero fantasy sci-fi setting is really exciting and really fun. And yeah, I love this show so much. The cast is incredible. The music's incredible. I know Rachel is familiar with it. Richard, have you watched any of Schitt's Creek?
I've heard. So I'm afraid to admit I have not watched either of those shows, The Good Place or Schitt's Creek. And I'm gonna have to add it to my increasing backlog of TV shows that I need to watch.
Do what you gotta do. Do what you need. But holy socks, The Good Place.
It's a great show.
I'm so excited for you to experience that show when you finally do.
Yeah. It's the Good Place and Schitt's Creek are both the kinds of shows that if you go in with an open mind, it'll take you on a ride, and they're both very different rides. But also why I love Schitt's Creek, and I think it's worth talking about here, especially for me and Rachel, because I'm not going to presume anything about Richard, is that Rachel and I are both queer to some degree or another. Yes. And the way this show handles queer stories, especially between Dan Levy's character, David, and his partner, whose name I'm forgetting in the show. What the hell is his husband's name? It's not going to come back to me in time, but
it's okay.
It's fine. But the way they explore that relationship, or even my favorite thing about the show is when David's asked about his sexuality, he talks about it being compared to wine and how sometimes people like a little red, some people like a little white, sometimes a Chardonnay. He doesn't really ascribe to labels. He just likes what he likes when he likes it. And I loved that description. And I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but for a show to approach sexuality that way was just really moving to me. You know, it made me feel seen in a way because while I'm very proudly a bisexual man, you know, it's nice to see a man on TV talking about his sexuality very comfortably, and it's not a spectacle. Even with them moving to this kind of southernish, kind of seemingly closed-minded town, it doesn't end up being that way, and and everyone ends up being a lot more open and receiving of these characters and their lifestyle, even if they are complete asshats at sometimes. And it's really a remarkable cast. Also, one of my favorite characters of all time, who plays the mayor, who I'm going to forget his name now, but he is a MVP in comedy acting, and he gets to chew the scenery so much as this character, as the mayor of Schitt's Creek. And it's astonishing. Rachel, did you watch all 6 seasons? Did you see the whole series?
I've not watched any of Schitt's Creek.
I thought you had watched Schitt's Creek.
No, the only thing that I have ever said about Schitt's Creek is their GIF game is very strong.
Oh, yes, that is very true.
That is all I've got. I've got the GIFs.
Yeah, I mean, you're selling me on the character development alone of how you're describing it. It's just I'll watch that if it has unique character building. That's what I want out of shows. Don't give me the tropes and the things I've seen before, give me something new, and it seems that it's delivering that. So now you've really piqued my interest.
That's excellent. Yeah, Rachel and Richard, you both should definitely watch it.
Oh yeah, no, it's again, it is on my deep long list of things to watch eventually. I was just thinking how much I love that this show is just like a really long commercial for shows we like. Just like
Pretty much.
taking people to church, like, this is so good, and this is why you should watch it.
It's true.
It's our little love in.
But yeah, I think that. I mean, also the show has legends like Catherine O'Hara and Eugene Levy, and the character that Catherine O'Hara plays, the mom in the family, Moira. It was fascinating to watch with my spouse, actually, because she does accent acquisition, and she's taught people, actors and all sorts of folks, on how to work on accents, whether to sound more neutral or to lean into a certain kind of accent. And like listening to her deconstruct Moira Rose's accent, played by Catherine O'Hara, was because she doesn't sound like she's from anywhere, but she clearly has an accent, and it's such a bizarre choice. The way she'll pronounce certain letters and certain words are unlike anything else in the English language, and it's just it's and also her outfits, like she's got a wall of wigs in the show, and so like different hair every episode, different outfit every episode. It's astonishing. And for me as a Eugene Levy fan, having watched him all over the years in American Pie and SCTV and all these other things, to watch him in this show be a jackass. And like, he has a heart of gold like a lot of his other characters does, but he's just such an ass in this. And I've never really seen him be mean before. He's always playing like the lovable goofball often. And that was really satisfying. Also, fun fact, the show is showrun by his son, Dan Levy. And then his sister doesn't play his sister in the show, but his sister plays a different character in the town, and so it's a family affair. All three of them working together, which I think is really cool, also, and not something you see a lot, in at least in American TV. So that's my pitch for Schitt's Creek. Definitely watch it. It's hilarious. It has a lot of heart. It's really beautifully done, and it's one of the most complete shows I've ever watched that I really enjoyed from start to finish, besides The Good Place. Like, it feels like The Good Place in the sense that the story, while you want the story to go on, it didn't have to. The ending was satisfying without spoiling it for Schitt's Creek or Good Place. Like, it's a satisfying ending that leaves you still loving these characters.
I love that. Well, Matt, you've said many words about this show, Schitt's Creek, but now you have to do the hard part. Matt, if you could review Schitt's Creek in just 3 paltry words, 3 tiny little words of the English language, how would you describe this show?
Learning, growth, love.
Aww. See, that sounds so counterintuitive to what I feel like that show is. You know, because like you see these characters look so bad, it's hard to be like, how is this not about bad people being bad? Which is great. I love shows about bad people being bad, but it's like really interesting to hear how different that show is from my perception of it.
Yeah, when I went into it, I watched half of the first season and turned it off because, you know, early episodes are just that. But it quickly changes, and then I found myself watching it, and Sarah had started watching it after I had. And so then when we both realized we were watching it, I think I stopped and I started watching with her as she caught up to me, and then we watched the rest of it together.
I love that.
Yeah, the show is very sneaky in that way, that it doesn't appear to be what it ends up being, and that's what I think I love most about it.
Wow.
You're talking about like one of the hardest things to do in storytelling in general is to make the audience not like characters to then like them later on in the show. So based on that alone, I'm like, wow, the writing has to be incredible. Like, you're really hyping me up to go watch the show, where I've heard of it and I'm passing, and it wasn't really, it was like, oh, I'll get to it when I get to it type of deal.
Yeah.
But now I'm like, all right, Saturday, Sunday, let's blow off some things to watch this.
Nice. Awesome. Well, I can't wait to hear what you think. All right. Well, Rachel, now that I'm done running my mouth, what have you brought us? Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Tell us what you have brought.
Well, I'm going to do a bit of a rule break myself because I feel like I'm bringing something that is something that I don't want to spoil. So I'm going to bring this movie and the movie before it because I also watched it before watching this. I'm doing a double feature. It's a new rule. I just made it up. I'm an adult. I do what I want. I'm going to make soap in my kitchen. It doesn't matter. I'm bringing Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey and Bill and Ted Face the Music.
Nice.
Wow.
Nice.
Because I want to talk about both of them. And this is my show. And also, like, Bill and Ted Face the Music is still pretty new, and obviously that's going to be a very, like, spoiler-free thing, and it's kind of one of those movies where I kind of just want people to watch it before they, like, make assumptions about it, because I feel like there's a lot of, like, bad faith discourse. But anyway, I had never watched Bogus Journey. Ever. So this week was my first foray into Bill and Ted dying and becoming best friends with death and whatever the hell station is. And I gotta tell you, as an adult, I'm so sad I didn't see this one as a kid because I could watch my partner watch this movie and it was like reliving some stuff through his eyes, like the fusion of station alone, just like this nasty gooey mess. Like, he literally paused the movie and went, I think about that sequence a lot. And I was like, I can totally understand. And I'm really sad that I don't have a child's eyes watching it because there's so many fun gags and good visuals that I think it kind of elevates Bill and Ted as an idea, as an entity, you know, like do the really cute, like, time travel thing in the first one, but this is they have to outwit death by playing board games and just like all of time is breaking apart. Like, it's just it's so silly and ridiculous, and there's evil robots and they meet Station. Are you kidding? I can't.
The 90s were wild.
It's wild.
I love that movie so much. And I remember when I was a kid, so many people hated it. They said it wasn't as good as Bill and Ted spoke, the first Bill and Ted Excellent Adventure. And I think the reason that is because when we're kids, we want things light and dumb and ridiculous. And the first one is very much that. It's very goofy.
Yeah, they got to do a history report.
Very silly.
You know.
The second movie broaches real serious topics that are more for adults and for kids too, but it wasn't as much a movie for kids in the light goofy way that a lot of kids movies were at the time. It showed some real growth and some change for these characters, which is why I'm curious about Face the Music, because obviously the characters still regress as we've seen from the trailers.
Yeah.
And so, like, my only question about Face the Music is, does it hold up? Do you think it holds up to the legacy of the other two movies? Now having seen all three.
And I will say this, and please, again, take this from someone who only watched Bogus Journey a few days ago and hasn't carried it in her heart for as long as many listeners have. I have a passing appreciation and respect for Bill and Ted. I like the way they do time travel. I think Keanu and Alex Winter are just all charming and adorable and wonderful. And I will say, I think Face the Music is a well done sequel to this like wrap up to this franchise that at worst maybe came a little too late, but I don't really consider that to be such a detriment. I find it more of a detriment because it makes my heart sad for these characters that they're like this far along in their lives to finally like realize some things about their lives. And that's kind of why I wish it had been an earlier adaptation, just because like them being near their 50s instead of like in their mid 30s makes it feel a little more sad in the way that we live linear time.
Right.
You know, where in that similar way that you feel really bad when you think about Ebenezer Scrooge, like his redemption arc happening so late in his life that he like missed out on like love and family, and like his heart was so cold for so long. It's like that, but the stakes are much lower, like way lower than that. But it was a thought that I kept bringing to myself of just like, oh, it took them a long time to get this together, huh?
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
but
because
but- yeah.
it was famously in traction for a while. Like it had been written a while ago, and like Keanu kept teasing it for a long time, but they didn't
Yeah.
want to release any official word on it until they were filming, and they didn't start filming, I think, till very recently. But it had been
Yeah.
in the writers' room for a long time.
yeah, I think that is a detriment to this movie, because having them face the music at an earlier age gives the potential for like longer happiness.
Right.
You know, that's all. Like literally that's my only problem with it. I love their daughters, Thea and Billy. I think that their B plot is so good and I want them to have a sequel.
I mean, that's
Like, so
probably
badly.
why they're there. I mean, I'm sure they were written in because, like, I'm sure Alex realized that there are no spring chickens now. Well, they would do these movies forever, probably, if they had other
Yeah.
characters they could pass the mantle off to. You could create
Yeah.
franchise.
But also don't forget, we ended Bogus Journey with them having baby Bjorns.
That's true.
Announcing this is little Bill and this is little Ted.
Yeah.
They had to have children.
That's true.
They didn't have to use the children so well. They just had to have them.
That's fair.
Would you say that you have like a reverence now watching for those two, the first two, or is the nostalgia thing getting in the way of liking it to where they're considered nowadays? The first two, Bill and Ted's.
Is that for me?
Yes,
or for...
yes, or for either of you. But I'm
Well,
more for you because you just watched it recently. Like I watched it years ago as a kid, and I noticed sometimes when I go back at things I missed, like I didn't watch Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the TV show. I go back and I try to watch it. I can't get to that eyes that a lot of people have, and it's just not
Yeah.
holding up for me. But I completely respect everyone. Like I didn't know what was your experience with that?
As I did grow up watching these, so I can speak from the position of no nostalgia lenses. I think it's a silly movie, a silly trio of movies that are light and breezy and the kind of things that I like to watch. And I would watch them again. I think they would very easily become the kind of movie that, like, you remember channel surfing when you're just like surfing through the channels,
Yeah.
and like you see a movie come on, you're like, I'll watch that. Like that's where they are for me. So they're not sacred to me, but I wouldn't kick them out of my bed for eating crackers. I like them. I think they're really cute and such a weird like a weird high concept that doesn't go hard in its sci-fi. It's still kind of like this like funny kind of stoner movie, but it's also dealing with like responsibility and all through like trying to write a history report. It's just a movie that doesn't get made often, and it's weird to say that having just watched the brand new third movie in this series. You know, just to have heady concepts not be taken so seriously, you know, in the same way of like Doctor Who has to save everyone,
Yeah.
but not so silly as like Back to the Future, I'm gonna date my mom, I guess. I don't know. I
Yeah.
think this one really threads the needle between the two fluctuating time travel sort of norms.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of there, like in that little Goldilocks sweet spot.
Yeah, I think for me, like I unfortunately haven't rewatched them recently. Recently. I maybe watched them about 10 years ago. So that's recent enough. But I wanted to rewatch them before watching Bill and Ted 3, but I don't think that's going to happen. But like, I think actually listening to our sister or brother pod, as it were, Can't Get Enough of Keanu, when they did their episodes on the two movies, like I remembered a lot of the stuff they described very clearly. So the movies definitely stuck with me, but I definitely am going into the third movie with nostalgia, like hands down, absolutely. And I think like just from I got so excited from the trailers and seeing that Death is back in it and all of that. Like, I think that no matter how the quality of this movie is, nostalgia will carry me through, which I think is fine. But I am curious to go back and revisit the first two, because based on especially what Patrick was saying about the first movie when they talked about it on the podcast, he's talking about how brilliant the movie was for its time, even though it's not a brilliant movie. It is at its core a stoner time travel movie, but it still does things so brilliantly. And it's something that I feel like we don't see enough in comedy anymore. Like something that Ghostbusters, Bill and Ted, Back to the Future, and a few other movies did is they did such a great balance of comedy and other genres. And I think Guardians of the Galaxy approaches that in the MCU. You know, I think Ant-Man approaches that in the MCU. But they're still not as funny as a comedy. They have funny moments, but it's not quite the same. And those are my favorite kinds of movies. Comedies are my favorite movies because I love laughing. But when comedy does something besides just being funny, it's why I loved Palm Springs so much when I talked about it, because that's another one that feels like a 90s to 80s comedy.
That one threads that needle too, like that little like eye just like passing through.
It was like the perfect summer movie. For 2020.
Yeah.
Like I'm still so mad that I couldn't see that in theaters just because I wanted to throw my money at it. But
Same
like
here.
but like those kinds of comedies will always stick with me, because those are my favorite kinds of comedies, when it's a comedy plus something else.
I haven't watched them in years either, but Rachel, were there any jokes or anything that like don't hold up today that like
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, there is. Okay, 'cause I saw someone
there's the boys, the sweet Bill and Ted boys do drop a slur in both the first and the second movie. In defense of the second movie, it is their evil robot counterparts that say this slur for members of the LGBTQ plus community. Just be aware. Also, the word for cigarettes. There you go.
Noted.
Which I don't ever want to be like it's a product of its time, but like it was one of those words that hadn't been taken into account yet, and so I can understand. I'm not forgiving its use, but I do see like how we have grown past that, and I don't think that you should throw out the entire movie for that, considering that there's a lot more positive in it than that negative. Like showing a very kind and considerate male friendship, I think is more important than getting up in arms over like one word. I think that like we can always approach these things with nuance, and I think that there's enough positivity and good messaging in this show in terms of like male representation and that idea of respect and love and care for a plutonic male friend. I think it's great. It also is really wonderful, especially in the sequel, Bogus Journey, to watch them respect the princesses. There's a beautiful moment when the princesses are driving away and the boys are like, well, one day maybe they'll stay over, and they kind of say it in that like wishful, like maybe one day, we're not mad about it, we understand. And then Alex Winter goes, yeah, our babes are most chaste. And it's like a compliment, they're like, yeah, our babes know what they want. And it's like really sweet, and I would say that there's so much good in this, befriending an enemy, in death, and just like understanding that you gotta get good at music if you're gonna write the song that's gonna save the world. Finally getting it to the point that they actually do it. I like these movies. I think they've got a lot of heart, a lot of charm, and other than like the ill-used yuck word, I would say that the jokes are pretty fine, pretty standard.
I
like
asked because on Twitter this week, people were talking about Dude, Where's My Car for some reason, which I have not watched since it came out, and how it does not hold up, and there's all these.
I'm sure it doesn't.
And it's just like, it's something I probably should go back and watch, because I remember watching it at the time, and it just kind of like, yeah, whatever, it was a dumb movie. And so it's interesting to see, because I remember watching old comedies, even going back to like Cannonball Run and like, wow, these jokes are just horrible today.
Yeah.
And then now knowing movies like I watched when I was in high school, now having that same lens, I find that to be like just very interesting of where we've come to like,
Yeah.
oh, what was I missing when I was 18 or something? So
Yeah,
that's-
totally.
Yeah. And I'll even say, like, I'm sure some folks take umbrage with the Missy subplot of everything, how like this like Missy character works out. But to be honest, I think it's really funny that there's just like this character who's just like married different members of their family. And it really pays off in the third one.
Oh, excellent. That's good to know.
It really pays off. And I cannot say that I don't hate it because it's buck wild.
Yeah, I think that that's the hardest part about comedy is as our understanding of what's okay and what's not, and what's like a cruel joke versus a joke that's punching down,
Yeah.
or punching up. I think that as we get better educated on what those things are, our taste will always change. But like even most recently, when I was on Let's Rewatch for Scott Pilgrim versus the World, I acknowledged I love that comedy so much, but I also acknowledged that's another one that threads the needle of genre and comedy. But I absolutely expressed there's so many problematic things in it. But I think and we say this often on the show, it's okay to like things that are problematic still, as long as you acknowledge the problems. I think, at the end of the day, you're allowed to like what you like. I think it's when you start ignoring the problems with them that we get into murky or not good territory because you're not growing or learning.
Yeah.
But all of that said, Rachel, are we now doing, since you brought this incredible double feature, are you going to do 3-word reviews for both movies, for Bogus Journey and for Face the Music?
Yes,
Okay.
I will, and I can because it's easy.
Okay.
I'm already ready. Most excellent sequels,
Nice.
Nice.
Well
That's
done.
so. Oh. who can top that?
non heinous sequels.
No.
Either one.
Both.
Interchange them.
In-
Both, yes.
Yeah, there you go.
Interchange one for the other whenever you feel like it.
Well said, Rachel. Well, guest time. Our good friend Richard McGrath, thank you for joining us. What have you brought to the table for Screen Snark to chow down
Okay.
on?
So I watched a whole series this week.
I'm so excited.
I'm the oldest of 5 kids, and we recently decided to share an HBO Now account. And
Nice.
I watched a show called I May Destroy You.
I
heard
heard
know if
about
you guys have
this.
heard of this
Oh.
or read it or at least familiar.
No, but I do know a little bit about the development
Yeah.
where the creator was trying to like get it done and they wanted to buy it from her and change her character around, and she like refused to let them do that, and like finally got HBO to be like, "We'll do it the way you want to."
This show hit me like a gut punch. I was not expecting. So it's written and co-directed most of the episodes, and the star, she's the star as well. Her name is Michaela Cole. Stars as the lead character is Aubrielle. And Michaela, when writing this show, drew upon her experience with sexual assault to give
That's right.
a much more nuanced than anything I've ever seen in any media talking about the subjects. It is gut-wrenching, but at times it is funny. Very much like when you go through a tragedy, you're not sad all the time. There are funny moments, and she captures that. I think the other thing to note, it takes place in London. Her parents are from Ghana, so it's more focused on the minorities in London. And as someone like myself who had lived in New York for like 15 years, it's very interesting to watch this story set place in London with the accents, but see a lot of the similar things that I experienced in New York, like the small, weird, laid out apartments and the public transit, and like that stuff I can relate to in a foreign city where there's other new culture. But it very much has the point of view of the victim, which it does not use rape as a plot device. It doesn't use it as something like a horror film where I'm going to shock you.
Yeah.
And she, it only could be from someone who had that experience to be able to do it. And it's done in such a poetic way that you really start to understand her and her friends. And it goes into not just the assault, because it's not just about that, which is great. It was like a full-fledged character. It talks about our interaction with social media, your other interactions with friends. It talks about sexuality and it being on a spectrum and trying to figure out that spectrum. It goes with consent and the different lines of consent and different types of what is considered rape and where the consent ends and the complications and the ugliness of that all comes together, and mental health and how. And it does this in 12 episodes, each 30 minutes. And it's just absolutely brilliant through and through. And I really want more people to watch this. And I feel like this is going to be like The Wire for shows that really bring a good discussion around sexual assault. The other thing I really applaud is these characters are some people that I was friends with or roommates with that I really understood, where they make decisions that I don't always agree with. You're like, wow, that's probably not going to be a good decision, but you definitely don't deserve what's about to happen to you. And I think it leads to some people who maybe aren't as empathetic to getting to that point where they can be like, oh, I like this person. I don't agree with all the decisions, but yeah, I think it could lead to a discussion where we never have the, why didn't you report it to the police? And so you have a greater understanding. So I think it ends up being that powerful. And I did not expect it to be that. I kind of went in cold without watching a trailer. And so not to bring it all down, but it is one of the most, it's stick with me for days now. I think it's one of the best shows I watched of 2020. As much as I want to watch Watchmen and it got all the awards, I really think this should be up there with it. It is absolutely powerful in how it delivers its message.
That's amazing.
Damn.
I remember hearing about it and reading some articles about the creator and how they were digging into the subject matter in a way that it just hadn't been done before. And like, I mean, not to compare traumas at all, but like, because I was dealing with my own trauma of the fire and everything, I just, it was hard enough in 2020, just being 2020, to watch dramas because of just how I'm an emotionally fragile person, especially right now. But like, that said, even reading the articles and seeing the trailer for this, like, it seemed so important that it's something I want to watch, even if it's going to hurt me. And there aren't a lot of shows that I will do that with. You know, it's hard. You know, you want to enjoy what you're watching, and there's a catharsis in enjoying whatever that means for you to something that's sad or depressing or, traumatic in a TV show. But that said, like, this one does seem really important, and with you talking about it, I absolutely am definitely going to watch it. Like, it just definitely seems like something I need to see. I don't know when, but yeah, I think HBO has been killing it with their programming for some of the stuff that they've been doing, like the recent acquisition of Doom Patrol and how they've been growing that series. And I haven't finished the second season, but like, I've seen a ton of shows pop up on there that I want. I heard, like you, phenomenal things about Watchmen, and I love I love the movie and I love the comic, and so like, I really want to watch this series. But like, this does sound like something. Rachel and I talk about this often. Like, I love superhero stuff. I love talking about superhero stuff, but there's a lot of it. And like, if I can find something that's dramatic or important that's not those things, I think I hunger for those even more. You know, I've been watching a lot of dramatic movies over the last few years in a way that I hadn't before, because it just wasn't something I was searching for. And this also sounds like something that's worth my time.
I will say it will be heartbreaking at times. But I feel like the show arc follows the grieving process for you as the viewer, and eventually, very much like the character, you will be able to make at least peace with yourself and understanding it, I think, at the end. And just like how you talked about not wanting to compare traumas, it goes into that. It is so brilliant. It's just unbelievable. The writing is top notch. It makes me want to go watch the other stuff she had made for the BBC now. I am a fan. I full stop. I'm going to watch everything she does from now on that she creates.
Wow.
And this is, like you said, I love superhero films. I grew up like a little kid being able to watch, like, see the Avengers movie or see an X-Men movie. It was like, tickled me pink. But I don't like how it's been at the expense of creating new original things. Like, we're not getting, like someone's version of The Matrix or Girl Interrupted or all these independent films. So I like that HBO is at least backing these type of projects on their streaming service, and I'm hoping, the streaming services will be able to start to fund these more independent projects that I think, need a little bit of legs, need some time to get out there, that bring different art. Because I love superheroes, but I want to have that extra stuff too. I never wanted the superhero stuff at the expense of everything else.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think it's really interesting that HBO Max has now become such a part of this conversation because like we're dropping things that we really like that are kind of gonzo that they're doing over there, and we haven't even touched Primal, y'all. Like Primal would be my
Yeah.
shout out if I hadn't brought two movies. Like that is an animated piece of art. It is completely told without dialogue. It follows a caveman and a dinosaur, and I can't believe that I say that, and I'm like, it's pretty serious though. Like,
Yeah.
it's pretty serious. I just swing for the fences. Make stuff that's just great. Go Gonzo. Live that dream.
Well, within reason, don't pull a Netflix.
Yeah. That's
Don't pull a
fair.
Netflix. Don't make trash.
Yeah.
Like, make good Gonzo, not
Well, it's fun.
not bright.
It's funny that you mentioned Primal because Primal, as I recall, it's got the legacy of Samurai Jack behind it. It's the same creator, right? This is the animated
I don't
show.
know because I've never watched.
Oh my
Samurai
God,
Jack.
talking to you guys is just adding so much to my queue. It's unbelievable.
I'm so sorry.
I'm pretty
I
sure.
need like another 10 years worth of quarantine, which I don't want to get through everything.
No.
I'm pretty sure that's correct. That it's the same legacy, and like with the Samurai Jack video game just having come out and hearing it's very good and has all the voice actors from the cartoon, and I grew up watching that show. And if you haven't watched Samurai Jack, I mean, we talked about it at length on this show with a previous guest. Go watch it. But that said, Primal I've been interested in because I hear it's so much more raw than
Yeah.
any other cartoon.
Yeah, I'm loving experiencing my weird catharsis of a broken world through animation, and there's so much being thrown at me
Yeah.
right now. Like Primal is just one of those like, can't. Oh God. Oh no. And then Infinity Train, of course, is just like, holy fuck, what are we doing? I thought this was on the Cartoon Network. What happened? They're both just so dark and raw, and I just am so excited for this trend in animation to really lean into animation as fully adult entertainment, and not just adult entertainment as like Aqua Teen fart jokes. Like, I love Aqua Teen. Do not think that this is a drag on Aqua Teen. That was my jam as a young
Oh, me
as
too.
a young college edgelord.
Frylock and Master Shake, man,
Yeah.
all the way.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Meatwad.
Oh, but Meatwad.
Gotta love
He wants
Meatwad. My cute little dumb meatball.
my nasty fuzzy meat boy. I love you. So
Have either of you watched Grave of the Fireflies?
Yes, unfortunately.
If you're looking for animation that was going to break your soul,
It's
Yeah.
Miyazaki.
watch Grave of the Fireflies.
It's-
Oh, I
and make
know.
sure you have a box of
It's-
tissues.
Yeah.
Oh God!
Great.
Don't read, don't Google, just going cold.
No, I've done such a good job of like not touching that property. Like even if somebody like mentions it in another thing, I'm just like, nope, I'm out because I don't
Yeah.
want to know. I know that I gotta be ready for it.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that I'm not ready to fully
Yeah.
weep. I'm still treading that water above, just
Yeah,
like my
that's
floaties
fair.
on, just like I don't want to go down there. No, you can't make me.
Yeah, Grave of the Fireflies is one of those movies for me that's up there with Requiem for a Dream of a movie I only need to watch one time in my entire lifetime. Like I cannot, and it's not because there's anything wrong with those movies. It's because it takes me to a place that I felt like I needed to feel this. I needed to see this. I'm good for the rest of my life.
That's how I feel about Parasite.
Yep. I haven't watched it yet, but it's on my list.
Sorry, the anime or the Korean?
The Korean film.
Okay.
The Bong Joon-ho film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. That was one that I watched it and I was like, that was maybe one of the most incredible cinematic experiences that I will ever have in a movie theater. Never again though. Thank you.
Have you watched any of his other films, or will you? After
Yes.
this?
Yeah. I've watched Snowpiercer, and he also did Okja, right?
He did Okja.
He did. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
A Angry Dog Bite, something I forget. I'm screwing up the name. And then
Yeah.
one that's getting re-released on Criterion, which I'm looking to pick up, though I have it on DVD, is Memories of a Murder,
Ooh.
which is based
yeah.
on a true story of a serial killer in Korea, and it's one of his finest.
Ooh, I love those works. Like I'm there. Like Bong Joon-ho is definitely one of those filmmakers that I want to absorb their entire filmography, not just because they're a brilliant filmmaker, but they also are bringing so much discussion about class consciousness. And I think especially right now, these are important ideas to engage with. Oh no, she put on her leftist hat. Oh God, help us. The
There goes our
ratings.
comrade.
Oh, there goes our monetization because she said class consciousness out loud.
We're not monetized anyway. It's fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
Well, all right. Well,
We got off topic.
we did. But
Whoops.
before we loop back around and talk about Richard himself, if you had to summarize this show, this experience that you had
Yeah.
in just 3 words, how would you do it? What 3
Don't
words
envy
would
you,
you?
friend.
Beautiful artistic pain.
Wow, well done.
Wow,
That was
I think that was a record.
absolute record. He had that on deck.
Where's our
I
lorist?
may have prepared.
It's beautiful.
Amazing. Well, thank you for sharing that. Thank you for being here. Let's talk a little bit about you, Rich. So it seems like most nerds of a certain age, around our age, you do everything because we kind of have to do a little of everything. But I want to talk
culture.
But I want to talk about streaming specifically because clearly you have a love of pop culture and film and TV. Do you, because me and Rachel are both streamers as well. Rachel's just starting out. I've been going for a little
I'm
bit,
a baby.
though I've been on hiatus. Do you feel any kind of like TV or movie production feelings when you're putting together your stream? Like in your presentation, how you interact, how you present the games or other things? Or do you just kind of feel like it's fly by the seat of your pants, don't overthink it? Like, where are you with prepping for that?
That's my problem. Is I'm a type of person that's, before he goes full bore into something, is going to research it. Mm-hmm. And so about a year before I even started streaming, I literally just digested all of that content even more than I wasn't, until like just analyze it and break it down, and then like put a spreadsheet together of here's all the equipment I need to get, and this is what I'm going to save, because I wanted to have like a high bar quality, because I was like, I don't just want to play movies. I'm sorry, I just don't want to play games. I also want to like make documentaries and premiere them. And so I was like, I got to have at least a good level of quality. And so I kind of broke it down. And then I've since, I'm like my own worst critic, but I've taken an improv class, which is completely out of my character, to like get better and just work on my presence on stream. And I'm just constantly like, how can I get more things? But it's definitely like I try to plan. Though I will say it's harder to talk about your day going live in these days. Well, it's like, I got up again, sat on Zoom for about 4 hours, and now I'm playing a game. So, but yeah, it's a constant. I'm always trying to think of like, how can I make it more entertaining? How can I make it a show? Because as much as I want to be like, oh, we're hanging out as you're playing a game, I do want to have some type of entertainment value that makes it unique than just someone playing a game.
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, for me, it was one of these things like before I started streaming, I think in the early days of when I was podcasting, when Twitch first started to become kind of a big thing. And then I stopped because I felt overwhelmed. And we talked a little bit about this with Urban Bohemian, but after his panel at MagFest almost 2 years ago now, because time is weird,
It's a lake.
I fell in love with streaming because they made me realize there are no rules. You make the rules if you have an audience showing up. And it gave me a level of comfort because, of course, I have 4, 5, 17, I've lost count, podcasts. Like, I realized I'm comfortable talking to people, and I'm comfortable talking to people live because I started hosting for a time. I was producing and hosting burlesque shows. So, like, my approach to streaming became more of a live show, interacting with an audience thing. But that said, because of my incredible community who I don't deserve, when I had quieter moments like playing Journey and being awestruck in the second half of Journey, which isn't a very long game, because of how beautiful it is and how incredible it's presented, the silences never felt awkward because your community, if you have one, is on this ride with you. And I think that's the most important thing, right? Is to always remember that when you're doing something like this, when you're making a podcast, making a movie, any of these things, you're making them for your audience if you're lucky enough to have one, or for a new audience who on some level wants to enjoy it, wants to engage.
Yeah, Twitch gave us the movie going experience with video games.
Yes.
And had that collected share, which is very unique. So I think they're one of the few audiences that will understand, oh, we're watching this point in this video game, let's be quiet and just are embracing it, which is something beautiful and I'm desperate to get back to in the theater.
Yeah. So we're talking a little bit about like the streaming process, and I would say why we stream. I have a piggyback question that is slotted in real quick. You have a series on YouTube called Why I Stream, where you film Twitch streamers just about their experience, and I wanted to dig into what prompted this project, some things that you've learned while making this sort of documentary style interview experience with streamers.
Yeah, thank you for that. So it was really two incidents that really spawned to like do this. I had spent 4 years making a documentary about this baseball team in the 30s, and it's based on a book in Springfield, Mass. It's a very small story, and my mom had brought me the book. And halfway through making the documentary, she suddenly passed away, so she didn't get to see it. And like movies were our thing. Like when I got laid off and was living at home again, because we're in our 30s and that's what you do.
Yeah,
we would go to the movies all the time and share that. So she died at 60, and I think it was I was like 34, so I kind of freaked out a bit. Like my life could be half over. She suddenly passed away from autoimmune. Like, I don't know, that could be in me. And so that was like, oh, I got to create more. I got to do more and can't just spend 4 years making this one thing. I want to put more out there. I just want to have more of an output. And so I was trying to figure out what that project was going to be. And I was watching a lot of Twitch at the time because I just love video games. And I had saw a clip and like a highlight video. And it was this young girl, and she had a tube in her nose. And someone in chat came in and said, "Hey, why do you sound so funny?"
Ugh.
And she turns to the camera and she is, "Because I have cancer." And I was just like, where is the empathy? Like, you could tell something is going on because not everyone has a tube in their nose. But like, one, to have the courage to get up online with a face cam to play a video game, and the amount of effort, like, because she was going through leukemia, to do that. And you got some asshole in chat being so mean to her. I was just like, what can I do to document, to hopefully in some weird, like, hopefully try to generate a little bit more empathy and show the diversity of what's going on this platform? Because I feel like, one, on the internet in general, for some reason, because I guess maybe we don't know how to communicate as well, there's not enough empathy. Everyone always tends to go to the negative or reads a tweet you read that's in a negative tone, even though you wrote it in the correct in a different tone. And so I was just like, what can I do and so that's what I want to do: merge video games and filmmaking together, which I love, and hopefully try to generate some empathy along the way, because I feel like it's sorely missing. Not that I'm a perfect person, but that's at least if I'm going to do stuff independently, I want to have like some bit of impact. And then the other genesis for that, very much like film history, where pretty much most of the silent films are lost. If you look at a film called Metropolis, it's a sci-fi film. It's missing 30 minutes, and it's inspired even sci-fi works to this day. On top of that, the director Fritz Lang made a film called M, which is a black and white film, which was a talkie, and he's one of the few directors that successfully made two seminal films in the silent era and early, I think it was 1920s, a talkie. But there's 30 minutes missing. And so just like that, a lot of streamers' first streams are missing. Or someone you could watch for a while could just be offline, and you don't know what happened to them. And so I was like, I just want to document the early stages of what's going on this platform, because a lot of these people, streaming, you don't make a ton of money. Most of them do not make a ton of money. Maybe you can pay for a video game a year, but they're making some really great content. So I was like, how can I just document the early days of this new medium? Because it's only 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
I was at the launch party for Twitch at E3. I had ran a video game website with Dan Shu and Damian Lin of Electronic Gaming Monthly. After that went belly up. So I had been doing this stuff for years. So it just kind of ended up being a natural fit. And I hope to continue it after whenever we get out of this.
That's amazing. I love that, because it's one of those things, like, look, I've been podcasting a long time, almost a decade, and I only this year got my first big time, quote unquote, I mean, it's not big time, but higher profile production job producing for a show. And I'm very excited. And I'll talk more about that when we do our plugs towards the end. But like, podcasting has been around a long time, and that's something I think about a lot. Like, nobody's really documenting the history of this. Like, Mark Maron's done a lot of talking. Some asshole who I used to respect has done a lot of talking, but he's a shit stain now.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
But like, and I love how you know exactly who I'm talking about when I bring him up. But like, you know, I think that podcasting is such an interesting medium, and I thought about that a lot too. But with Twitch, it's also very different because you're right. Like, also people's videos disappear over time, and you really don't always get to know. Like, the Twitch streamers that I love the most now are streamers that I got into when they only had a couple thousand followers or even less, and like. Some of my favorite streamers are friends of mine who are just breaking into the medium. Like, we've mentioned her before, but America Online at AOL.com, who is a graphic designer and a burlesque performer and just a really funny, awesome person. She's creating content on Twitch that no one else is doing because of just who she is. And, you know, even me and Rachel, who are not too dissimilar personality-wise, we're both giant goofballs. Her content is so different from mine because you're doing it with your partner and you're doing VO stuff and like you're using your other talents.
Whoa! Do not call it VO stuff. We are just reading the dialogue.
You're doing voices.
But you're doing voices with the Fire Emblem. Like, I mean, come on, that's
Please listen. John is doing all of the brilliant voice work. Like, he just has a million voices he's pulling out, and I'm like, this one will just be a little bit higher. Did it?
But like, I love what I love. What I love about
I refuse.
What I love about Twitch is it's a transparent medium because you really get to see a person for who they are. Because also, like my experiences through burlesque, people pretty quickly can smell bullshit and will call you on it pretty quickly too in any live show. And Twitch is another live show. In fact, tons of folks are using Twitch for other things that they wouldn't have normally before COVID. And so, like, you know, we all are on a little bit when we're on camera or we're in front of an audience, but still if you're a good performer, there's a truth to somewhere in your performance to who you are. Even I assume as an actor, like, you're pulling from some real places, even if you're playing someone like you. And so I think it's really interesting to catch all of that and see all of that grow and develop. And I hope you can get back to it too on the other side of it, because I think it's something that's totally worth seeing and totally worth doing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, thank you so much for the kind words. I really appreciate it. I have one more that I'm editing. I, for some reason, decided to bank and film 7 episodes in 1 year. And now I'm just like, in an editing storm of stuff. I'm like, I got to get it all done.
No, you got to do that. The only reason that Fun and Games, my other gaming podcast, exists right now is because Jeff and I banked like 6 episodes before the fire. Meanwhile, me and Rachel have been flying by the seat of our pants and sort of making it work. But like, banking is the way to go.
Is our release schedule less frequent than Fun and Games, or
same every 2 weeks?
Same release. Okay.
Yeah.
No, we were working on banking
we
episodes.
Yeah.
For like a hot second, we were like, "Oh, we got 2 in the chamber."
We'll get back to that.
It's okay. I'm not worried. And also, hey, listeners, you understand?
Yeah, you get it.
You get it. You're empathizing with us, the people in your ears right now, while you're brushing your teeth
Or working out at the gym.
Please don't be at the gym.
No, yeah.
I'm so worried for you if you're at the gym.
At a gym, your home gym, obviously.
You're at the grocery
gym.
store, properly wearing a mask that goes over your nose.
Yes.
While you're inexplicably playing Ring Fit Adventure while listening to a podcast. Is that not everyone's gym? Oh, that's my gym? Okay. Just
it's
okay,
mine too.
Bye. So good. Anyway.
So, Rich, I wanted to ask also, because you're so steep in gaming, which is a medium that we only talk about occasionally on here because I have enough gaming podcasts. But that said, do you find, I'm curious as someone who also is a documentarian, do you find yourself more drawn to narrative-driven games, or do you like a good, like, arcadey, not much story, like just get through the game and have the mechanics? Like, do you have a preference?
It depends on the type of mood.
Okay.
So, like, I absolutely love dungeon crawlers like Diablo, and I recently played the Torchlight 1 and 2 franchise.
So good.
But I love playing those games while I have a movie I've probably already seen on the other monitor.
Yeah.
It's like this weird ADHD thing. Like, I can play and click a game and then passively watch Starship Troopers. This is what I did recently.
Nice.
So I do enjoy that aspect of it. And sometimes, like Destiny 2, I can't figure out that story for the life of me, but the shooting mechanics are so great, so I'll continue through it and that's when I say, I'm playing with friends, so it's a little bit more enjoyable. But yeah, I also am very drawn to story-driven games, but it makes it a little tough because games tend to be very, very lore-heavy and don't create many good characters.
Yeah.
And I think people mix up the lore and characters to different. And I think we've, since BioShock, we've continued to see better and better characters get created. And I'm, midway through The Last of Us 2 right now.
Haven't played it yet.
I'm really liking the characters, and I just want to see where that goes.
Yeah.
So that stuff, but those type of games I don't like to play on stream as much.
Me too. Yeah.
Because you're talking and you're not paying attention to the story. So if I was going to play that game, it'd be like a second playthrough.
I refuse to play through a game that I want to get it like super engrossed in, even though I'm not actually playing the games on my stream. My thumbs are silly. They don't do what I like them to. Why I can't control the camera. But even trying to be engaging with what you're presenting to an audience, I cannot retain story beats of the game that I'm playing, which is fine because I'm luckily playing a Fire Emblem game, and it's just like, you don't cry and someone's a dragon, probably.
Yeah, I think for me it depends. Like, I played The Last of Us 1 after having it for years and years because I started playing it on stream, and I ended up finishing it off stream, but I played a lot of it on stream. And I got the most random follows from that game because it's a game with a legacy and people wanted to see where I was, how I was doing, because it's such a heavy game, which was really interesting to me. Whereas right now, until the recent hiatus, my bread and butter was Dragon Age Inquisition. And I'm a BioWare nut. Anyone knows that, who listens to anything I do. But that one also, while there's deep story and a lot of lore, there's also a lot of combat moments and like weird side missions, and like you can kind of pull yourself out of the story long enough. And like the BioWare fan base is on board whether you're deeply taking the story seriously or being a giant goofball. And I appreciate that kind of a fan base. Like, I don't think I want to play a deep, serious game with no humor on stream that often right now, just because I don't know if that's something that I would want to play at all right now, the big game that I'm playing right now is the new Avengers game, which I'm in love with. And I think the reason I love it though is because the lead character is Kamala Khan, and I love her, and she's such a great and different character. And I think that's more, even though the story is great and the voice acting is great and all that stuff, the graphics are great, gameplay great, blah blah blah, I think because she's such a unique character and such a great character, that makes me more engaged than any of the other things. And like you're talking about before, Richard, like really good characters can drive you to do more with more, or even with less, if they're well written. And the writing for Kamala is so good, and she's such a great like avatar character for Marvel fans and superhero fans in this game, that has made me engaged in a way that maybe I would stream it at some point for the narrative, because I think sharing that experience would be a lot of fun.
I'm so happy to hear that, because that did not come through in the beta.
No.
At all.
So,
and I've heard so many good things of people saying, don't ignore the beta, just go into the story. And so I'm interested. I have the game. It's on my list of play hopefully this weekend, and I'm just so happy to learn that like everyone the gaming podcast, yourself, like just talking about how good it is in the story. I'm like, oh, thank God.
Yeah.
Awesome.
The beta was an old build, I think, because I was also feeling the same way. It's a really great superhero story, but also to put for Crystal Dynamics to put all the weight of the character of this game on this incredibly unique character who had a great comic run that I didn't get to read all of is such a great idea. And they're using Inhumans in an interesting way in this game also. Like, yeah, I highly recommend it. Selfishly, are you playing on PS4 or Steam?
Steam.
Oh, we're gonna fight some bad guys together. I have it at Steam.
I got a group of friends. We've all been trying to play different games. I would love to add you.
Yeah.
Come on, Rachel, get off the Fire Emblem. Let's get you on some Steam stuff. I would like let's just, a good game of Among Us to see who's a good liar and see how long friendships can last.
I've heard good things about Among Us. I hear it's very fun.
Free on phones, crossplay.
Oh, well, dang, maybe. Why not? How does a raid work? Let's do one of those. I don't know what anything on Twitch means.
Oh, it's when you send your viewers over to someone else to support them.
Yep.
Oh, I love that.
So that's what the raid is.
Well,
And so that's
I'll send my like 20 listeners to raid
That's a
someone
lot for
sometime.
Twitch.
That's a lot for
20
Twitch.
people. But
Yeah, 20
that's what
people
I
is a
love
lot.
about the Twitch community is the sharing of like, I'm done. I'm going to send my audience over to you.
Yeah,
And things that need, like-
I love hosting as an idea where it's just like I'm not doing anything, but like if you click on me, then you're gonna see like another person doing their stream.
Yep.
And that's the other thing
neat.
is I'm reaching out to streamers that have a way lot more viewers than me and followers. Not once did I get asked, hey, how big is your YouTube? How big is this? They didn't care.
yeah.
They saw previous work. So it's been nice in that way.
Yeah, I think that the raid thing is really specifically an interesting thing for community sharing, because for the listeners who may not know, also when you're ending your stream, if you type /raid as a command and then put another streamer's name or handle in the chat and hit enter, it pulls your audience to that streamer's audience. And I've gotten the bulk of my viewers from that. I happen to be lucky enough to know some incredible humans who stream, and every time I get rated by like 100 other viewers, I'm like, I'm sorry, excuse me, what? Like, why? Hello, hi. Like, it's a really great way to share communities in a way that
cool.
that so many other platforms don't have. Like, if there was a way at the end of this podcast, like on the podcast, for it to be in an app that automatically takes you to another podcast that we want it to, and there may be something like that, but like to be able to pre-program so when this episode ended, you would go to an episode of Men of Steel from the network.
Yeah, from the Certain Point of View Podcast Network, our beautiful network. Thank you for allowing us to be part of your family.
If we could program that, how great would that be, right? To just be able
that'd
to,
be so cool.
You know, and like we have ads at the end of shows or mid-roll, and that's a way of doing that. But like Twitch really and you know, Twitch isn't perfect. They've screwed up a lot of stuff within the last year. You know, they have not supported their black streamers in a way that they should be. They have not been fighting against racism, sexism, and all of that stuff on the platform in a way that's effective. They're trying to be better, and I recognize that.
Yeah, but it's also important to recognize that like there's nothing in our current economic system that incentivizes caring for people
Pretty much.
in that way.
Yeah.
So, you know,
I mean,
sometimes you have to, not
Just
not
at
that
least
that's
block
excuse.
racist username creation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like the number one thing they're asking for right now.
Hi, Fall Guys did it.
Yeah.
It's like just don't let people mess with this. Just don't stop.
I think, Richard, you have been a delight, and that
Yeah.
I appreciate all the things you're doing. I appreciate how kind and warm you are, how kind and warm your community is, and that you're trying to, I think something that we're all trying to do, at least the people that I know, are trying to build up those around us and to try, like a rising tide raises all ships. And the fact that you care so much about the things you're doing, but also the things that people adjacent to you are doing, says a lot. And so I really appreciate you taking the time to come on the show and share that with us.
Yeah.
Rachel, Matt, thank you for inviting me. This has been an absolute treat. I'm like, hopefully it didn't fan too much over you guys. Like, oh my God.
Not at
Oh
all.
my gosh.
This has been wonderful. Thank you. And I can't wait to play Avengers with you.
We're doing it. It's done.
We're doing it.
We're doing it.
As I look around, going, "Oh, not I," said the cat.
You're more than welcome to join. I'm in the Discord. Come on, we'll find something.
Before we ask you our final question, which since you're a listener, you know what's coming. Rachel, I believe we have some folks to thank.
Yes, we have a lot of gratitude to share here on the old Snark. First and foremost, I would love to thank John Presnell for the use of the song Aurora off the album Fair Game featuring Stefan Rempel.
I would like to thank the incredible Katie Bug, who designed our awesome show logo. Thank you so much, Katie.
Yeah, and I already said it, but thanks again to the Certain Point of View Podcast Network for having us on the network. We got some cool new shows. We got some cool old shows. Go over to our website, certainpov.com. Check them out, at least for now, until we are able to build an auto raid podcast system.
Exactly. You can join us on the Discord server. There's a permanent invite link on the Discord.
Yeah,
We also have an email address.
we do.
You can reach us at screensnarkpod@gmail.com. And send us your love mail, hate mail, fan fiction. Send it all to us.
Whatever. It doesn't. It's fine. Send what you got. We're all. What's the bread you're making? Show us your bread.
Show us
I
your
will
bread.
solicit bread photos. For sure. Also, if you enjoy the show, please like, rate, review, that whole thing. That gets us out there more to more people. Finally, that was remembered, because I feel like we always forget.
It's true. We're a community, and this is a community show. We like sharing these shows because we like sharing our experiences with them, and we love hearing from you all. I also want to take a quick moment. By the time this airs tomorrow, Tuesday, the first episode of the second season of Shut Up, Evan will be airing.
Ooh.
And I've joined Shut Up, Evan with Evan Ross Katz, who is an incredible host and has incredible guests. And we've already announced our first episode is with the incredible Olivia Wilde. I produce the show. I get to ask some questions on the show. Evan is a delight.
Wow.
And you should definitely go check that out and subscribe to it. I'm really excited for y'all to hear what we're working on.
Love it. That rules. Congrats, bud. Congrats.
Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you.
And before we give you an opportunity to plug yourself, Rich, we do have one final question to ask you. And since you have fully admitted for some reason,
I may have not prepped for this.
it's okay. Most people don't know the question, and we never prep our own questions. So what's this show? I'll keep it short now that it's already been too long. Rich, if you had to choose one trope featured in movies or television to instantly and magically become true in your life, what trope would you choose?
The meet cute for like an intelligent woman that I get along with.
Oh,
Yeah. Unfortunately, she's probably going to spill coffee on you because she's so clumsy. Oh, she's so quirky. Oh, boy. As I'm balancing a lot of coffees. You can't see this, listeners, but my object work is like off the chart right now.
It is off the charts.
I had to rack my brain for that. I've been watching a ton of horror films lately, so I've just been like, no, okay, I don't want to do the Chainsaw Massacre. That wouldn't be good. So you got me cute.
That's good. That's a good answer.
I
I
love
like
it.
that. Now, please, Rich,
It's beautiful.
please plug all the awesome stuff you do. Where can
Yes.
folks find you on the internet?
You start a raid with your mouth.
RW
hated
McGrath
that.
on everything. Twitch, Instagram, the hellhole we call Twitter. And then why I stream, I premiere them on Twitch, and then they live up on YouTube. Other than that, yeah, come say hi. People call me a boomer. I don't know why, but I try to be good at video games. It doesn't always work out.
Yeah. What nights do you stream?
Hey, you must be a pro at this because I don't do any of that information. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays at 7 p.m. Eastern till usually around 10ish.
Awesome. Excellent. Well, thank you again, Rich, for joining us.
Thank
This was a
you.
delight. I can't wait to take in more of your content and your awesome, handsome face. So thank you.
Thank you.
My. I should go.
So yeah, thank you everyone for listening. As always, like Rachel said before, please like, subscribe, rate, and review. It really helps us to grow the podcast and find more listeners. But as always, and forever throughout time, we will see you at the movies or on a couch somewhere.
Aurora, 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 Aurora. Metal to magnet, she will be mine. Aurora.
Hey, you splendid living construct of human delightfulness. Thanks for listening and supporting the Certain POV Network. It's your bestest buddy in the whole wide world, Pat Edwards, from the Let's Rewatch podcast. You might have heard an ad earlier in the year of me talking about an upcoming 5th edition D&D campaign book I co-wrote called The Red Opera. Super quick refresher. The Red Opera is based on the album and stage show of the same name by the band Dia Morte. It takes place within a mystical and chaotic city run by warlocks in a far-off northern tundra. Not only is the book entirely filled with original settings, monsters, encounters, and characters, but we also have 2 original new playable species and 2 new warlock subclasses. We've also forged a partnership with the Heavy Metal Hall of Fame and the Budapest Symphonic Scoring Orchestra to create an entire suite of new music to accompany each chapter via QR code. Well, guess what? If you're hearing this, the Kickstarter is live. That's right. So please consider clicking the special link in the show notes and peruse the many amazing reward tiers we have to offer. We have custom dice, mini figurines of the 4 main characters, a leather-bound version of the book, and even an option to get a special extra adventure written featuring you as a character. Come on! Thanks for taking a moment away from this phenomenal Certain POV show to listen to me, you wonderful amalgamation of organic excellence. I hope you'll check out the Red Opera and consider joining me on this new adventure.
CPOV.
CertainPOV.com.